Yeah. Yep. So let's.
All right, so I'm gonna,
Yeah, you're
listen.
gonna create
You
another
got me.
link.
You got me pushing buttons. This is not my strength. All right,
Not
so
your forte.
no, sorry. So I'm creating a live stream in studio, not reusable. It's gonna go to Black Liberation. We're gonna call it the Remix Remix.
The remix. That's perfect, actually.
Oh,
Oh,
it's live now. We just went live. Why? Why?
what?
Wait. What just happened?
I did. YouTubing. YouTube. Listen.
YouTubing?
Listen.
Oh, we're
y'all.
here. We're live.
Listen here.
Oh, we're live.
I can't.
All right.
And I'm all shiny, ain't got no makeup on. What's good?
I
This is
cannot. I cannot.
Listen,
That's hilarious.
and with everything that's going on, if we expect things to run smoothly in the middle of the apocalypse, I don't know. Hi, y'all. We're finally live.
What up, y'all?
Finally live. Although
my
y'all got
goodness.
a whole ass show in the chat. I don't know.
They did.
I
They
did
did
some good interviewing already.
Oh, y'all. It was definitely something on the back end. It was not. It was
You
not
two playing
us.
games with us.
Right. I dug as deep as going into the YouTube to figure out what was going on. And there was something that just wasn't connecting. And now it's connecting. And so I don't know how long you have, Jackie. I know, Cloud, you said you had a little bit of time. I'm not technically supposed to be here, but I'll stay because,
give the people a show.
I'm good to hang, but I can probably only hang for like an hour. But I know there was a bunch of stuff missing. And so, Jackie, you are the busy one. You are the one with the real schedule. And, I'm unemployed. So like, my...
I definitely have a thing at 2, and I've got somebody coming by the house later who is going to stay for the night. And so I got some stuff I got to do, and I got writing to do, but the people deserve a show.
The people deserve a show.
And they were faithful and in here holding up the show, even while it was not on.
I know. Shout out to Cloud. Shout
out to the chat. Shout out to me.
Yep.
Shout out to Cloud for hopping
on. Because me and this sleep were like, I don't know what those noises are, but you gonna stay asleep.
So we dropped this in the chat, Manny, our faithful link dropper. We could probably get into this, but yesterday at the UN, I was waiting for Dina Baliarte and Trump, but lo and behold, the head of FIFA stopped by, and I was like, "Oh,
is this the
let me go
link?
Yell at you."
Is this the link that's in the chat?
Yes,
right,
it is.
Let me see.
Okay.
Let me see if I could do it. Let me see. I learned how to push buttons. Oh, I see it. Hold on.
Rules the games. They're responsible for genocide. You have a human rights division, human rights office.
They take care of it.
I'm sure you do. You're just as responsible for the genocide, Infantino. Move the games!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
I love it. Look.
First of all, Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, was in the Panama Papers. This is an extremely crooked individual who should be behind bars, in fact. But, with that smug-ass, bald-ass face, I just wanted to punch that face. But but there's too many cops around, so I couldn't do it. But yeah, I mean, the smugness also, right? Because I mean, you saw the email correspondence that FIFA sent back to us. We have a human rights office. We're
Right.
doing everything in our power to speak to all the players necessary. Well, you just saw his response. That was a bullshit response that they sent us a few months ago, and it continues to be a bullshit response after last night, right? They are going through with it. Also, he was there for dinner with Trump, right? With which Peru's dictator Dina Boluarte was also there for. That's why we were waiting with the Peruvian comrades, because we were gonna shout at her, but I guess she went through another way or some shit, because they found out that, you know, her schedule got leaked, so people are waiting for her everywhere. You know, she's not gonna, you know, she's responsible for the death of over 70 people, mostly in the south of Peru. So, you know, she's not gonna walk around like, you know.
Yeah, and he was the point man. He was the point man. He was sent out first to see who was out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And to report back. But that's okay, because I'm so excited. I'm so proud of that action y'all did. That was great, because you were out there not by yourself. Who were you with again that you just said?
We're with my Peruvian diaspora organization. Shout out to Calpawan, which is it's Quechua and it means with strength. So we're a pretty young, 2 years old about, Peruvian diaspora organization. Our goal is to organize a diaspora within the belly of the beast to support and struggle alongside our comrades in Peru, right? So we have very strong relationships with organizations in Peru. I mean, I lived there all of last year, so we built very, very strong relationships with them. Not just with organizations in Lima, but more specifically organizations in the south of Peru where the massacres happen and where there's the mining corridor, right? That's where the bulk of our resources that U.S. imperialism is after wants. So, you know, not just in BAP, but for Calpawan, like, we organize. We meet with the people. You know, we don't just leave our people at reactionary wherever they, you know, whatever reactionary stances they might be. We engage them and we move them, right? So there's, even when it comes to, like, for example, Venezuelan immigrants in Peru, I've had to have very long, uncomfortable conversations with some of the comrades, being like, crime was already here before Venezuelan immigrants came through, right? Like, you weren't saying that 10 years ago, but crime is still here. So, you know, that's the process of organization. And we were just talking about, you know, before we actually got live on this thing, but, you know, general strikes, right? What is the process of actually organizing? It's not just we call for something and there it is, right? Like, it was happenstance that we ran into Infantino last night, but I wasn't there by myself. I was with a group of comrades that I've been organizing with for years.
And that's the whole point. That's, you know, at this moment, not all tactics are helpful or useful, but all tactics, most of them are necessary, right? There is a lane for most people to be in, even with some of these liberal kind of tactics. If that's where people are, okay, fine, that's where they are for now, right? But for those of us who have been in this for a much longer time and have much clearer politics and understand who the enemy really is, we know that we don't do this alone. We know that we cannot win in silos. We actually can't win with liberal tactics, even though we understand that that's as far as some people go, because at least for me, I think this is how I'm looking at it now. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time being angry and fussing at people who are doing liberal shit, because they're just going to do that. There's really, people don't want to be as radical as we are. That really is true. Here's the thing though. When they see their liberal tactic not working, they're going to want to go somewhere else. They're going to want to be like, well, okay, this is dead, but we still got to do something. That we have to be here to welcome these people into our organizations with their liberalism and struggle with them to bring them to where we are.
Right. Yeah, and I think an action like this really helps heighten the contradictions, right? Why are we yelling at Infantino? Why do we want FIFA to kick out Israel and move the games, right? It's not just Israel. The US is, I mean, shit, the genocide wouldn't be happening without US money, US bombs, US intelligence, and British intelligence, right? Like, let's not forget that. So
is there any, I saw this in passing and I was like doing something else and I meant to go back to it and then I lost like the link, whatever I was looking at. Did I see correctly that there's also like another international organization that's getting signatures regarding FIFA? Did I see that?
There's a whole bunch of coalitions from your, we were just saying, from your liberal rights, human rights watch organizations, and they've been pushing that to, coalition of folks. I believe Students for Justice in Palestine are involved, Code Pink, I'm sure a few others. Right. So it's all of the pressure needs to be put on, and it doesn't just have to come from one campaign, right?
Right.
It would be good, certainly, if we are all coordinated. So I will be reaching out to some of those comrades to see what that coordination can look like. But yeah, absolutely. They need to be
what Jackie said, I can't even, and there's so many times, Jackie, like at random you say something that just lives in my head rent free. And so, but you've taught, no, it's never bad. That was not a complaint. But what you just said about like we can't do this stuff alone is so important. And like we get arguments all the time from people like, well, I don't know why y'all doing stuff this way and why are you talking to these people, and like, and I'm the weirdo who's like, look, I ain't messing with that person. Like they're beyond like a line that I have the energy and the patience to deal with. Like I have way less patience than most people, but there's also like, you have to be willing to do something. Like me doing shit all alone is not going to be helpful, right? Like this weekend we're doing a backpacking event. Oh, Cloud, if you're free Saturday, you should. We're gonna go to dinner after.
I'll be in Atlanta.
That's right. The convening.
We're gonna be in Atlanta.
Right. So we're gathering resources to do 100 backpacks so that when the re-emerging citizens come out and they're met at the gate by this support group that runs out of Newark, they have a backpack that has soap and socks and underwear and like stuff so that they can just have something to make sure they have something. So we're doing a whole backpack thing. But we're doing it with multiple orgs. And I don't know all the orgs. I don't know that all of these orgs are really aligned with the stuff that we're doing. But if it's going to get 100 backpacks filled, we don't necessarily have to, as long as y'all not going to come in acting crazy, like we don't have to be in 100% agreement with stuff, as long as you all agree that when someone is being released and allowed to, to go back to freedom, that they have underwear and socks and deodorant and soap, and they have access to the things that they're going to need to at least get them through a few days in the event that they don't have access to those things when they get out. So,
well, now I'm mad that I'm not going to be there, because then my next question is like, okay, and how are we organizing them when they're outside?
So that group that we're working with they do a support meeting every single week, and it's open to anyone. It's open to the community if you want to come help. They have a support group for parents. They have a support group for couples. They have a support group if you just need to come out. But that Returning Citizens group out of Newark, they've been doing this work, I think, for like over a decade. And it was started by two brothers who both did, I think one did 25 years and one did 30 years. And Chino always says, like, I would look at people who came back, like I'd be in the yard and I'd be like, didn't you just leave? Like, how are you back? And he realized that there was no support for people when they get out. And so now that's what he does. They meet people at the gate, they fundraise, they get housing if people need it. They have a whole they have a whole community set up to support people when they get released, to try and make sure that they don't go back.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of stuff, that is the kind of people don't realize it, but that is the kind of institution building that we're talking about when we talk about community control.
Yep.
Like how we meet the needs of our people really is the foundation of the foundation behind the idea, excuse me, of community control. It's definitely not trusting a white supremacist, settler colonial, patriarchal, genocidal state, Zionist, xenophobic, genocidal state, right? To provide the services to people that people need, that the state hates. Right, that is definitely a big part of community control. Realizing that we can't trust our oppressors to provide the institutions that the people need to survive. So who provides those things? It has to be the people. So then we look at where we have needs. What do we need? How do we meet people's needs that are, first, we meet the needs that are not being met, that are critical. Prisoner support or returning citizen support, because we know there is none. This is an infrastructure that has been built to provide support to a segment of the people, of the population, that there is no infrastructure to support. That is community control over that institution for those people. So then we look at that and begin to think about, well, how can we move this beyond supporting returning citizens? Where are the places in our communities where people can benefit from these kinds of services too? How do we build this out? How do we scale this infrastructure up to address different needs? Or how do we apply the way this was organized to different areas of needs in our communities? So you're never reinventing the wheel, because all of this, none of this is new. All of the things that we need to build infrastructure for, to have community control in our communities, this conversation about community control over public safety, it is not new. It was begun during the Black Panther movement.
Right.
The Black Panther Party probably were the ones who popularized that phrase, community control over public safety.
But, and maybe this is right, because of course we want to support, or not just support these efforts and build these institutions, right? But where do we inject PE into that, right? How do we politicize folks beyond just meeting their needs? Because we're never going to be able to meet the needs of all the people, the masses of the people, right? So then what is the actual, to what end, right?
Right. Exactly. And that is the process of organizing for revolutionary, and because there's all kinds of organizing, all kinds. I keep telling people, and people don't believe me, but the reason Trump is in office right now is because the right used our strategies and tactics and organized to get to that point. They have asked these questions. Okay, what do we want? How are we going to get it? Who do we have to go through to get it? What are the steps we are going to have to take to get from point A to point B to point C? How are we going to grow this Tea Party movement so that it influences the government? And listen, these people didn't organize on meeting the needs of people. Right? They organize, they use the exact same tactics and strategies that we're talking about right now, that we don't want to learn the history of from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and hell before then. Labor organizing, anti-war organizing among the labor movement during World War I and World War II, that was led largely by Black labor organizers and Black workers. And they built multicultural, multi-ethnic labor coalitions that challenged U.S. imperialism specifically. These movements in our history that were not like 250 years ago. These movements were led by people who were anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist and understood the need for cross-racial, cross-ethnic, cross-cultural, cross-gender solidarity to fight capitalism and imperialism. So it went beyond meeting the needs of the people. And even then, for the workers, yeah, they may have initially gotten organized to get better, better pay, better working conditions and that kind of thing. But they realized that their labor was being used to fund war and to kill people around the world. So then them meeting their material needs as workers turned into, and I'm sure some of those people came to organizing with the politics of anti-capitalism and anti-imperialism, because they were able to do exactly what Klaus said. All right, we're organizing for better pay and better working conditions, but they're exploiting our labor to fund war. So then they turn what seems like a non-political issue of wages and benefits, which is it's entirely political, they turn it into a political issue. The organizing becomes political, and it becomes this massive movement, not just for workers' rights, but for dignity of work not to be used in capitalist and imperialist warmongering. So the political education, the understanding among the workers that that is their connection to the exploitative capitalist system, and therefore that's their connection to workers around the world. That is how you bring political education into a movement that may have been begun as a community service, but has to be political, because the reason the community service infrastructure needs to be built is because politics has made it so people in the community don't have those services. So even these mutual aid kind of infrastructures and organizations, though they may say they are not doing this for political reasons, the reason they have to do it is politics. So at some point, there's got to be some political education about the connections to these politically manufactured material conditions of scarcity and deprivation. Mm-hmm. People have to be educated in these formations to understand how the work they are doing is connected to what the US government and its capitalist imperialist allies do to workers and poor people just like us all around the world.
So, Jackie, are you saying that mutual aid is not an end into itself?
No one thing. No one thing. And listen, I say this, I'm giving you this information, and this is really wild how I am still very much learning about all of the possibilities of organizing. I'm not sitting here telling you stuff that I'm an expert. God, no. I am still out here learning just like everybody else. But I decided to get myself, Erica Ryan is in the chat, being Ricky. We did not get raptured. I was not going up there with them. No, because if they went, then I'm like, nope, that wasn't God all after all. If he took them Bamas, nope, no. But that would have been one rapture where all the Black people were like, wait a minute. All the Klansmen are coming too? Oh, no, we ain't coming. No, we ain't going to heaven if they're going to be up in there.
Y'all tent too big.
All the Black and Asian and non-white, non-crystal fascist Christians be sliding through the air like, what? Oh, wait a minute. How come Charlie Kirk's wife is up in here? Nah, send me back. Send me back.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. I'm cool. But I mean, the rapture came and went because it was supposed to be yesterday. So
this whole rapture business, we will talk about that in a minute, because I hate these people so much. I hate them so much.
Can't stand them. Can't stand them.
But the whole thing about, I think, organizing that I am finding to be, it's very uncomfortable, but it's also very, very beautiful, because you never actually stop learning. You're not supposed to. There's never supposed to be this, you don't reach like expert status in revolution. Now, there are people who we organize with, who I am in organization and community with, who know more about organizing than a lot of people ever knew, and they've forgotten more than most people ever bothered to find out. They've been in this struggle for that long, 50, 60 years, most of their adult life, and they have had successes along the way, but they are not hesitant to tell you about the mistakes they made along the way. And they tell you both the successes and the mistakes in order to put you in a better position to move the revolution along a little bit farther than they did. Right? When you run up on OGs or elders in this revolutionary movement who act like they have all the answers, run away. Run away from those people. They do not, there's nobody who has all of the answers on what a successful revolution looks like, will look like, can do, because there have not been, because all countries are different. Here, that's the thing. We want a revolution in a country that does not have a history of revolutionary consciousness among the people. Right? Yeah, this country had a revolution, but it wasn't a people's revolution. Other countries have had multiple people's revolutions, multiple people's uprisings, multiple examples of decades of fighting against colonialism, neocolonialism, imperialism, modern liberalism, and neocolonialism. And they can build off of their history of anti-colonial organizing that they celebrate. We don't have that. And it's not that we don't have the history. We don't celebrate the history. We don't see the history of African and labor and Boricuan and Asian, Korean. We don't see the struggle of those people against the fascism that they've experienced in this country throughout its history as revolutionary history. They don't see it that way. We don't see the slave rebellions. We don't see the uprisings against racist police terrorism, not just the modern ones, but the ones that force the state to call out the National Guard and deploy the streets and be deployed in the streets, because people were tired of being beaten and killed by the pigs, and they're never held accountable. That's not a new thing. That was going on in the 50s. I mean, it was actually going on for the whole time, but by the time we got to around 1945, 1950, Bama's was like, you know what? We taking to the streets. We have asked politely. We have done all of the things that you told us we have to do in order to solve this problem that we have. You told us we have to do this respectfully. We have to march peacefully. We have to ask nicely. We have to be professional and polite. And, we can't be yelling and screaming. This is the response to Black people and indigenous people demanding human dignity in this country. And for decades, for years, we went along. Okay, this is the way you say we have to do it. This is the way we're going to do it, because this is what they tell us. Right? This is not the way to protest, and they call property damage violence. So that anytime anybody tips over a trash can or throws a rock, they say it's violence. But that's property damage, and that's not the same thing. We're out here protesting the violence against human beings carried out by the state, and the state's response is, you set a car on fire. You're violent. You're yelling and screaming. You're violent. You smashed a store window. You're violent. Yep. We've been through that. So at some point,
agitators.
Right. Oh, it's not our Negroes. Our Negroes know better. Our Indians know better. Our Asians know better. It's these outside agitators who are always a bunch of communists sent from Russia and China to confuse our childlike and ignorant darkies that we have to protect from themselves. That's the attitude behind that every time we get out in the streets to protest injustice against our people. That is the attitude that these people have when they say, well, that's not the way to do it. Dr. King said to be peaceful. They didn't give a shit about Dr. King either. They cheered when he was assassinated.
Exactly.
So
to make the
this
international
whole, Go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say, to make the international connection, this is the same shit that they're saying about my comrades in Peru, that they're terrorists, right? That the sister of one of the martyrs is now being targeted by the Peruvian dictatorship as a terruca, right? For starting these recent uprisings, what they're calling Gen Z protests.
Right.
Because of the age of retirement is going up, right? There's obvious, of course, the neoliberal coup dictatorship is trying to force liberalizing the pension plan, privatizing it, right? So it's not even folks that are about to retire or already retiring that are out on the streets. It's a lot of young folks, because they understand what's coming, right? Like, they're like, shit, I'm not gonna be able to retire when I'm at that age. My mom can't retire right now, right? Like, my grandparents are out in the streets selling candy. They can't retire, right? So naturally, the people rose up, and but what do you hear from the news, mainstream news in Peru? What do you hear from the dictatorship at the UN with her new nose job? From our money, this bitch is out here getting plastic surgery everywhere she goes. No shade on plastic surgery, but don't do that with the Peruvian people's money, But they're saying the same thing. They're saying the same exact. It is the same script, because guess where it's coming from?
Yeah. So these folks, if and there, so there are people now who are very afraid, very, very, and I'm not dismissing people's fear, their anxiety. You should be, because look, this is fascism. But like we've always been saying, it's always been fascism. It just wasn't directed at you. That's all. The fascism has literally always been here. The fascism is what founded this place, right? So I don't understand how we had to have conversations with people who knew damn well that Adolf Hitler named his train America and patterned his final solution off of the way the United States exterminated as many indigenous people as they could, and they based their race laws off of Jim Crow. Like I've had to, over the past few years, I have had to argue with white folks who are organizers and who are otherwise very, very radical, who absolutely would not admit that what has been done to us, the racialized folks in this country, all this time has always been fascism. And these people have said to me, it's not fascism. It might be repression. It might be this other word, but it's not fascism, because they're not thousands of jackbooted thugs marching down the streets. I've seen fascism in Europe, because that there is a thing in organizing among some white leftists. And I don't think some of them do it intentionally, but I know plenty do it intentionally. They center Europe in everything. They center Europe and whiteness and what white people know and what Europeans understand and how Europeans see things in everything they do. And they don't see how fucking annoying it is and how absolutely dangerous it is for us. Because if you know these things about where the Nazis got their inspiration to do the things they did, the way they did them, that they got them from the United States, and specific actions that were taken against specific groups of people. And you turn around and say, well, that's not fascism, because there was no equivalent of the SS marching through the streets in the US. That, to me, dismisses our experience and the actual history of this country. You're literally saying everything that this country has been done, that the movie fascists that we all identify and recognize, the things that they were inspired by, that's not fascism. Even though those things were actually done to people here before the Nazis did it to the Roma and the socialists and the communists and the anti-Nazi Christians, the anti-fascist Christians, gay, trans, Africans, disabled, and Jews. I had to do the whole list because we need to be very clear that it wasn't just Jewish people that the Nazis exterminated. It was everybody that they did not believe deserved human rights and dignity. And we are exactly there again for the exact same reasons, because y'all don't want to admit that this place is the birthplace of fascism. It's not Mussolini. It's not Hitler. Wasn't Germany, wasn't Italy. It's the United States. So.
Jackie done left me in cloud speechless.
I'm just like, we don't have time for these dumbass conversations anymore. We don't.
We really don't. We really
Yeah,
don't. And
exactly.
when I was on yesterday morning, I was complaining because on one of my national listserv things, there are still people who are saying things like words are not violence and we have to support free speech. And I'm like, if y'all don't stop with your nonsense, because I'm so sick of all of y'all. And it is really just about your free speech. If it harms me, you don't care. And I'm like, and so I don't really know what conversation you want me to have with you, where it is very clear to me that you don't understand how violent words can be and how much violence can come out of words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's wild to me.
And here's the thing, y'all. I keep saying this, but I think people don't really get it. Like, we like to believe now. Look, Trump is not the smartest. He is a very dull knife in a drawer. Of it's true, but that does not mean that this man is not way craftier than you. I mean, he's not smart, but he's also not a complete idiot. He knows what will stir up his base. And he knows he can say incredibly insulting things about them. And they will continue to support them. So when he says, I like the highly uneducated, he means that shit. He knows he's talking about his voters, and they know he's talking about them. And they don't care, because their sole focus is getting rid of us, because they really do believe that we are their problem, even though they don't have any fucking problems, right? Like, most of the people who are entrenched in their support for Trump, I do think there's a lot of buyer's remorse among some working class and poor white Trump supporters. I think there is some. No, probably not a lot, because look, white supremacy is a hell of a drug in this country. And a lot of people in this country, and I look at this particularly from the lens of a follower of Jesus Christ, because ain't no way you can read that book. There really is no way you can actually read that book. Read it and read what Jesus said and did, and the example that he led, and still come up with, we're going to subjugate and massacre and genocide people and steal their life. All of that is absolutely not in the book. It is against every single principle of Jesus Christ. Now, the rest of that stuff, sure, you can take it with a grain of salt, because all of that stuff was people's personal opinions and a bunch of mistranslations and a bunch of made up stuff. And all of it could entirely be made up. Who knows? I can't prove it. Neither can you. I don't care. But the point is, if people say that the reason they are doing these things is because of some Christian faith, that's bullshit. Because the book does not validate anything that they're doing. The faith actually condemns everything they're doing.
I was going to say, doesn't it say in the Bible that it'll be easier for, what is it, that through the pin of a
easier
needle?
for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. Exactly. That is in the book. That really is. So, you know, these folks, they count on the ignorance. Yes, they know that the indoctrination that they have supported, the control of entertainment media, literally the control of information that they have been involved in because they've planned it the whole time. They've never wanted a highly educated population. This is why public schools, establishing public schools with taxpayer money, was a fight. And that's even for them, for their kids. They didn't even want white kids to be educated. They, meaning the ruling class, the landowning capitalist class. Public schools in this country, I think we talked about it on A Darker Than Blue. It wasn't something that, they crafted the Constitution, they established the United States, and then they set up public schools to educate all the people on democracy. Fuck no. No, school was supposed to be for the land-owning children only, because that's what they were going to pay for. They were not going to pay to educate everybody else's kids. They only wanted their money to be used to educate their children. And then other people, and a lot of those people were religious organizations like the Quakers and surprisingly Baptists. That's weird, but because they're a bunch of weirdos now. But it was organizations that came forth and said, well, no, every child should be educated. What's the matter with you? If you want people to vote, shouldn't they know what they vote about? Shouldn't they understand that? Shouldn't they understand democracy and how to operate in society? So people pushed for the establishment of publicly funded public education in this country that the ruling class never wanted, because they never wanted an educated populace, because they would have to fight to get what they wanted with an educated populace. Because once we know what you're doing, we're not going to let you do it when we know you are ripping us off. So the plan from the beginning was to rip off the people, y'all. That's what the plan was from the beginning of this place, to rip off the people, to use the people as much as possible, to exploit them as much as possible, so the landowning, wealthy capitalists can continue to get rich and continue to expand their control. And that is what they've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess maybe I'd like to know a little bit more about just organizing in your church and you know, some of the churchgoers, right? Like, how do you have these conversations? I know you said the new pastor is a liberation theologist, right? Yeah. You can, I guess, expound on that a little bit more, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and let me just address a comment in the chat. Many things can be true at once. It is true that public schools were not, you know what? Go to Zen Education and read the fucking history. Because I am also really tired of people feeling a need to not, you don't just disagree, you feel like you have to correct, as if things that are being said are incorrect. And all you're doing is adding an aspect of the history that I didn't touch on, because that's not my goddamn point. So okay. Organizing in my church is just as frustrating as being online and having these conversations. Because listen, church people are as deeply indoctrinated as the rest of us, and worse, because we don't read our own text. Too many of us do not read the Bible. Too many of us go to church and sit there and listen to what these people who have been indoctrinated in white supremacist seminaries tell us what's in the Bible, and they're wrong, because the shit they learned in the seminaries that were run by white supremacists who taught a specific interpretation of the Bible. And that specific interpretation is the support of authority and dominance and empire. So when you go to some seminaries that have actually had a history of having campaigns where they pay for Black clergy in particular to come to their seminaries to be taught biblical theology, they are teaching a specific interpretation of the Bible. It is a conservative, fundamentalist, very empire and capitalist focused and supporting, hierarchy supporting theology. So they literally kind of take the words of Christ as suggestions. And then they basically throw it out. They throw what Christ did and said out. Because listen, gender norms, this idea that women are supposed to be in the kitchen and not in leadership, and the man is the head of the household, and women are supposed to be subservient to men, and blah, blah, blah. If you read the Bible and understood the interactions that Jesus had with women and why those interactions are so important in the context of the culture of the time, you would not come away believing this bullshit about women supposedly having to occupy a certain subservient role in society, in church, and in relationship. Because what Jesus said and did completely destroys that idea of women being less than. This is why he talked to the woman at the well in a city that Jews didn't even want to go through because they hated the Samaritans that much. They thought they were dirty. So they would go around the city of Samaria to get to the city on the other side, rather than go through the city because they hated those people so much. Jesus was like, no, we're going through the city and we're going in the middle of the town and we're going to the well where all of the women are. And at that time in the history of that region, women were second-class citizens. If they were that, they were barely property. They existed solely to get married, have children, and raise them. That was it. And Jesus comes along and treats women like human beings, dear God, or dear him, as it were. And his disciples are pissed off at him. And like, why are you going through this town? You know, we think these people are dogs. We're not going in here. And why are you talking to these women? Good grief. Woman, they're probably menstruating. Get away from these people. And Jesus is like, shut up. And he has a conversation with this woman, and she's talking to him, and she's freaked out because he's talking to her. But she's there standing in her truth, just like, listen, my people believe that the Messiah is going to come from our tradition. And Jesus is like, oh yeah, that's what y'all believe? What if I told you I'm him? You know, and she's skeptical. Nah, son, you ain't no Messiah. Shut up. But nah, really, because I'm telling you here, let me tell you a little bit of something about you. And Jesus begins to tell her about her. No way he could know. And she sees, oh, he is him. He tells her, the woman at the well in Samaria, to go to your people and tell them everything I said. Jesus Christ commissioned the first woman preacher. So you gonna tell me today that you don't like a woman to preach in your church? Get the fuck out of here. You ain't reading your book. You're not. And a whole lot of pastors believe that. And I have told pastors that. Yes, I have. So organizing in church can be very difficult depending on the church you belong to. If you belong to a church that is not liberation theology focused, it's going to be an uphill battle, and you're going to fight every day with those people, and you're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave that church if you are interested in actual justice, because a lot of those people are going to turn on you and claim that you are trying to disrupt, and on and on and on. You have got to find a faith community that is rooted in liberation theology. Liberation theology is important in the context of Christianity. Because liberation theology is an interpretation of the script from the perspective that God himself lays out in the book, that God is on the side of the oppressed. So it took some global South pastors, Catholic priests, which when I found that out, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Catholic priests, Father Oscar Romero.
Oscar Romero, right. And he's a martyr. Why was he killed, right?
Yeah, gave his life for his people and for his beliefs. And what were his beliefs? The Bible says that what you are doing to the people is wrong. These massacres, stealing the people's land, forcing them to work and not paying them, denying the people liberation and freedom. This is wrong. This is ungodly. And I will not allow you to do it. No, I am not going to be a part of your campaign against the people. I am not. I am
and even
not
in Brazil,
support this.
Even in Brazil during the dictatorship there, right? Who was hiding people out in the churches, right?
It was the Catholic priests. It was a lot of the Catholic priests. So and to be clear, Father Romero's and Father Oscar Romero is literally the only Catholic priest I actually call father, because I think he's earned it.
Yeah,
he's earned it.
If that man ain't earned it,
yeah. He was actually assassinated by government forces as he was preaching a sermon. In the middle of church. He was shot to death in his pulpit. Now, let me be very clear, because I see some comments in the chat. I have never, ever said that the Bible is anybody's truth. I have never in my life said that the Bible is the truth. I do not believe that there is one book that is the truth for all humanity. Your truth is whatever the hell you find your truth in. So I no matter how much I say, I am not here to proselytize. I am just here explaining to you how my faith matters to me in my organizing, where I think it fits, and how I think I can organize other people of faith. And if you are a person of faith, then maybe this is something you can do. If you are not a person of faith, this is not for you. It's not about you. If it don't fly for you, if it don't apply to you, let it the fuck fly and leave me the fuck alone.
This is how I know people aren't organizers, because I'm not a person of faith.
I'm honestly not coming for people who believe in different faiths or people who have no faith when I talk about my faith. I am talking about my faith, mine. And I make very clear, is a whole bunch of shit in the Bible that is shit.
Yeah.
Because
but even beyond that, right? Like, who is in church? It's the masses of our people. This is how I know you fuckers don't organize. I'm sorry to come in or whatever, but like, I'm not particularly religious, but guess where I was on Sunday? At my mom's church, talking to people, giving them materials in Spanish about why we need a zone of peace, why our communities that are under attack here are also under attack back home. So why on earth, even if I'm not personally religious, would I miss out on an opportunity to organize? Dumbass.
And I mean, and listen, there are some churches I would never tell any of our people to go anywhere near a white Christian nationalist church and organize those people. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not our job. That's not our lane. That's for those people. That's for our comrades. That's for our white solidarity network folks. Right? And most of those people, you probably ain't go. It is hard. It is very hard. But we don't need to do it, because organizing our people out of these misinterpretations of our spirituality is hard enough. Because you've got a whole lot of people of faith, and not just Christian, who have very white supremacist, neo-colonial, respectability politics based ideas about liberation and freedom. And it's not just like I said, it's not just Christians and it's not even religion. It is cultural almost. And it is a direct result of colonialism. Like people have these ideas about how people should behave when they're angry because they've been beaten over the head by colonial powers every time people rose up against the colonial powers. So in order to survive, people are like, look, okay, maybe we do have to play a little bit nicer. And some people just literally put their head down and decided we're going to play the game so we can survive. We're going to play the game. We're going to do what they say. We're going to stay away from these troublemakers over here because we're going to survive. And that is just that is how they believe they can survive. That's how they believe that's the best thing for them to do if they want to make it through this, because they always feel like whatever this is a period of time that's going to pass and the Lord will take care of it, right? Because there are a lot of people in church who abdicate their responsibility to fight for justice on behalf of the oppressed. That is in the Bible. That is our mandate. That is our command. It's in the book in more than one place, lots and lots of places. People ignore that because they don't want to do the difficult work that is required of doing that, right? The people who know those scriptures are there, know what they mean, know that they command us to do. Yeah, because they don't want to do it because they're like, that's too hard. And that's going to cost me something. And people don't want to do it. So you're going to have to deal with people like that who may look at the situation and say, yes, genocide is terrible. It is awful. What is Israel are Zionists? Yes, they are evil. It is antithetical to everything we believe. They are lying, and they will tell you that. I don't agree with it. I think it's evil. I think it's wrong. I think Palestine needs to be given back to the Palestinians. Yeah, they'll tell you that. And then when you say, okay, we're having a teach-in, or we're having a town hall, or will you come out and canvass with us, or can we have a meeting here at your church? Oh, well, no, we don't get involved in politics because, we have to protect our. You're going to face that. You are going to face that in a lot of faith communities, not just churches. But you will find if you find liberation theology churches, if you find progressive faith communities, you will find more what do I want to say? You will find a community that is more equipped to be mobilized, right? And you might find some people who might be very excited to be a part of an organization that is doing what the Bible mandates believers do. You have to give people of faith who have political consciousness a reason or an outlet to channel that political consciousness through. Because those organizations largely do not exist in the faith community, right? Like there is no church denomination or church institution equal of a Black Alliance for Peace. This is why a Black Alliance for Peace with members who are part of a faith community have to take the organization to the church. Because they will not see us any other way. In the same way that people in the world will not know that we truly are followers of Jesus Christ if we do not treat people the way Jesus showed us to treat people. People will think that we are just like the rest of those folks who are not Christians. The Bible itself says that their behavior disqualifies them from being Christians. But you won't know that I am the real deal. I believe in the real thing if I treat you like shit all the time. So we can't, and as Klaus said, it is true in the United States, but when you travel around the world, when you go to the global South and you see all of the people who are in the faith community, they are in church on Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Their faith is central to their life and who they are. And I'm talking about in revolutionary countries like
Yes,
Venezuela
exactly.
and Cuba.
Nicaragua.
And Nicaragua. These are
I
people who
mean,
won their revolutions using their faith, and they still up in
literally.
church praising the Lord who helped them win their revolution.
The Revolutionary Lord.
So listen, I understand people, and I am not saying that there are not fantastic and valid reasons to have serious criticism for the church and to want to dismantle the power structure of the church. Fuck yes. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. The Vatican needs to fucking go.
But this is the massive question, right? Like, what do we say as organizers? You go to the people.
Where the people are.
You meet them where they're at. Not just politically, right? Obviously, you don't leave people at reactionary. You move them. You engage and then move them, right? But you physically have to go where they are. And where are they? Oftentimes on the weekends and Sunday, they at church. Am I supposed to be like, oh, no, I'm an atheist, I can't do that? That's how I know some of these folks in the chat are not organizers, because they'd rather just complain and criticize than actually get in the mud.
And I'm so glad you said that, Cloud, because look, I'm not trying to romanticize the need to do this. It's just that it needs to be done. So I don't understand what the issue is. Like,
right.
You think we are going to, like, okay, general strikes.
Oh no, we have to meet the right people. First of all, who are you to say who the right people are? What are your credentials, right? But I'm sorry. That's phenomenal, the way some people think about this. Okay, never mind.
I mean, it's like I have a hard time understanding how people want and expect a general strike to happen in this country. It's never happened in this country, and I don't know why people. But that is just another example of you not knowing the history of this country. But you want a general strike, but you don't want to organize with everybody who needs to be involved in the general strike. Because if you think we are going to win anything, if you think we're going to be able to organize a mass of people big enough to challenge this empire and overturn it without all of those millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in church on Sunday, if you don't think you are going to have to go to most of those people and try to pull them, I don't understand what you understand about organizing.
What millionaires are in church? Yo, this chat is off the chain. First of all, what millionaires or billionaires are in church that they're gonna listen to any of us? Come on, be for real, please.
Understand, we're not trying to go after Joel Osteen and TD Jakes.
The fuck, seriously?
No, the people in the pews, and most of those people in those pews are not going to agree with us. But I guarantee you, there are people in those pews of those mega churches who, when they leave on Sunday, they're like, you know what? They ain't helping me pay my bills. They ain't helping me pay this car note. I mean, that was a good sermon, but I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make groceries this week. Are they gonna help me? Oh, I know. Yeah. I gotta go and submit an application. And this is true because I belong to a church that did this. You have to submit an application. The application has to be reviewed by the board of trustees. They have to, vote on whether to provide you assistance. And then you have to sign an agreement saying that you'll pay it back. I guarantee you are going to find some people in some churches who are pissed off because they can't even find help to meet their material needs in the one place where it's supposed to happen. So we absolutely have to be clear that we have to organize in faith communities, but everybody can't do it and everybody shouldn't.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But we should not be so anti-religion that we insult the people who believe in the religion. That's the thing. That's the thing that
Chauvinism.
yeah, that's the thing that's been pissing me off
Yeah.
over the past few years with the interactions that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't care. Well, I mean, people think that I'm an idiot because I'm a Christian. Okay. I mean, all I got to do is open my mouth and prove that shit wrong. So I don't care. I don't care if you feel a certain way about me because in my intellect and whatever, and you feel like you have to grandstand and make a big deal about, you know, my faith when all I'm doing is doing what I believe I'm supposed to do. And I'm just not shy about talking about it because I know that there is an attitude, there is an antagonism toward people of faith in quote unquote left spaces that can make it difficult for some people of faith to speak up about their faith. But also some people of faith, as well-meaning as they are still stuck on the proselytizing people. So yeah, it's very complicated, it's very messy. But my issue has always been like, why do you have to make people a target? Why do you have to disparage people? Why do you have to, like, we are actually out here showing you that we mean what we say. We're putting our money where our mouth is. We say we are for the liberation of our people, and we as people of faith are out here fighting for the liberation of our people. And it's not just me, it's every person of faith who is in these spaces doing this work. But then you have other people of faith who don't want to be involved in these organizations because they see the antagonism toward faith and people of faith. And it's not just a conversation. And this is the criticism of organization in the left. This is not just a conversation about the impact of the manipulation of faith, all faith, to oppress people. The conversation always goes to how stupid people who still believe in faith are to still believe in what was misappropriated to oppress people. That's the problem. The conversation is never about, or maybe it starts off with, this is the way spirituality, religion, and faith has been manipulated by capitalism and white supremacy to oppress people. The conversations usually start out like that. But almost always they degenerate into, and people of faith are fucking stupid. And I don't know why anybody thinks anybody wants to be in an environment where they're talked about like that. Like, I'm not that kind of Christian. I'm not the turn your cheek kind of Christian. You're not going to talk shit about me and you don't know me. Just because you hate a thing about me and I'm just going to sit here and be like, oh, bless you. No, fuck you. For real. I'm like, I don't understand why we can't have the conversation about how capitalism corrupts everything, including religion, including faith, without turning it into, you know, personal insults because people are engaging in their own personal struggle over that very thing. Like, this is the thing that I don't think people really get about folks who are religious and also revolutionary. We have engaged in our own personal internal struggle with our faith and the contradictions therein to reach the point that we have. That most of us, and this is most of the revolutionary Christians I know, and a lot of them are pastors, will tell you, you know what? Once I realized politically what it is we need to do in this country, I really had to sit down and question what I believe about my faith, what my faith really says about what it is I think we need to do. And surprise, surprise, I really dig into my scripture and I realize my faith has been telling me to do this the whole time. So there's a lot of stuff I have to explain because it has been lied about for decades and decades. And I have to help our people decolonize our understanding of our own faith. And then I have to help our people understand when the Bible tells us to fight for justice on behalf of the oppressed, this is what they mean. They mean what these people are doing out in the streets right now. They mean this. This is what they mean. So these protests, not something we should be condemning. Absolutely something we should be involved in. These demands that are coming from these organizations to challenge capitalism, not something we should be condemning. Absolutely something we should be supporting and engaged in. And I understand if you don't want to be out in the streets like this, because you got a lot of old people in church. They ain't gonna come out and protest. This is the truth of my church. Lots of seniors, lots of elders. They're not gonna be out in the streets like me. But there are 10 people, all deacons and trustees. They've been at every protest. And I know because I see them there. Half the time I'll even go with them. Half the time I'm with BAP. And we end up seeing each other. We had a pastor for 35 years who was focused on liberation theology, went to these countries and met some of these people. Graylin Hagler met Fidel Castro. Graylin Hagler went to the Soviet Union. Yeah, went to the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union was the Soviet Union. Now, he has opinions about things that I don't agree with, but, and that's the other cool thing. Like, even in Christian circles, even in circles of faith, we can have a different belief because Hagler is not a socialist. All right. He's been to Cuba, he's been to Soviet Union, he's been to Nicaragua, he's been to I want to say he either met Father Romero or he went to the town where and met with his diocese. But Hagler has those experiences. Wow. He's not a socialist. He does not I don't know how, but he knows what justice is. He knows what human rights are. He knows what human dignity is, and he fights for that still to this day, even in his ill health. We have a pastor now. That Paca had the first demonstration against the DC occupation was carried out by Pan-African Community Action. That week before the troops were actually deployed, Pan-African Community Action got out there with 10, 15 other community organizations, some community organizations I had never heard of. That's how quiet and small they were, how protective they were, because there were organizations that protected the immigrant community. And they had not been out in public before until Paca called on them and asked them to come. And they're like, oh, you all are working on it? Yeah, we definitely want to be involved. Yes, thank you. And I asked Reverend Hagler, would you come out and speak? And I did not know. I didn't even know that he had another turn with his health and he actually couldn't speak. But he said, of course, I will come out and speak. No, he said, of course, I'll come out, but you have to speak for me. So you have to read my statement. And I read his statement and I was like, okay, but I'm not saying that part. So yeah, that there is even a divergence of opinions, of focus, of where we want to end up, of tactics and strategy in the faith community that is active in this liberation work. That's no different from every other organization that exists. So there is really nothing that is keeping us from organizing the faith community. Thank you, Matt Stu, because I'm gonna end on this. If we don't understand how powerful a political mobilization of the faith community alone can be in this current struggle, then you weren't paying close enough attention to how the moral majority even came to be.
Yeah, I just see someone in the chat, Jay, saying, like, do you think that Yemen would be taking the actions it is without faith and religion, right? And it's like, exactly. Look at the Palestinian resistance.
Like, it's wild. And we see the statements from the resistance in Gaza. We see the statements even from the people. And what is it they say? And I actually asked Abdus about this because, Abdus used to be an imam. And no, for those of you who are new, there's probably never going to be a time where you see me where I'm not going to bring up Abdus Shahid Lukman. because he is the reason I am doing this. He's the reason I'm here. So I'm always going to bring up that man's name. So just to let you know, he's my
And
late.
we just say shout out for that, because look, I feel like whether you agree with everything Jackie says or not, you need Jackie in your life. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
To chair my organization, everyone.
I'm mad you said mine, like you don't talk to me on the
I'm dead.
What just happened?
Hour. We are correct.
Like because Abdus used to be an imam, and he was an autodidact. I didn't know what that word meant until Dr. Sharice Burton-Stelly used it to describe me. And I'm like, what did she just say about me? I had to go look it up. And I was like, oh, high compliment, high praise. But he taught himself the Quran. He taught himself Arabic to read and write it and speak it.
Wow.
He was actually offered a job as a translator for the FBI, but he had a criminal record, and he was like, fuck the FBI. I'm not gonna help them entrap Muslims. What the fuck? No.
That's crazy.
They actually put him on a watch list. Remember the first no-fly list? That's what it was. The first no-fly list that was created after 9/11, he was on it because he was a Muslim imam in New Jersey. So I asked him once, if when Muslims all the time invoke the name of Allah, if they'll say, inshallah, something will happen, something happens, alhamdulillah, always thanking God, thanking Allah, Allah willing, this will happen, bless Allah. And I'm like, are they real? Is that? He's like, no, this is serious. He's like, this is not like Christians saying, when you ask them, how are you doing? Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. No, he's like, no, you don't mention Allah's name as a blessing or as a prayer flippantly. That's not something that that's not what we're taught to do. So when we see the statements from the resistance in Gaza, and we see the statements from the people in Gaza, and they're saying, by Allah, we will prevail.
Mm-hmm.
We will be free. Alhamdulillah. They're invoking the name of God, and Allah is nothing more than God in Arabic. That's it. Jesus Christ is in the Quran. His mother is in the Quran. They are venerated prophets. Mary is a saint in the Quran, in the Islam, in the Muslim faith. So we look at these people in these countries like Yemen, and they're standing up and saying, by Allah, we will defeat the evil Israeli empire. They mean that shit.
Yes.
That's not like they are declaring that this is a command of God. So this is not like I only want us. I don't want people to accept religion. I don't think people of faith, people of genuine faith, really want anybody else to accept their. I don't think that's our purpose. Our purpose is that what we want is for people to recognize that this is our way of drawing our strength.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I want to explain to people. When we people of faith invoke our belief, our religion, our spirituality into our struggle for liberation, it is our way of calling on a strength to continue that we know damn well we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I guarantee you, Yemen does not want to be in the position they are in.
Mm-hmm.
Yemen does not want to be bombed. They do not want to be targeted. They don't want to be massacred. But they also do not want to be in a position where they stand in front of their God and have to answer for why they did nothing when somebody else was being messed.
Yeah. And I see Erica in the chat, even though she's not in the studio or whatever. No, it is Women's Wednesdays or whatever. But she's saying exactly what I was just about to say. Look at the Haitian Revolution, right? How did that actually start?
A whole spiritual voodoo ritual in the woods, led by a woman priestess. Thank you. So when the Orishas, when God, the universe, the ancestors, the Orishas, when the spirits, the great mother, the great father, whomever or whatever you want to call it, tells you, rise up and defend all creation from evil and oppression, why are you going to sit there and argue about, well, I don't like your God, I think religion is stupid, this isn't the truth? Oh, okay, but can we deal with the rising up part? Because that's what we doing,
right?
So that's how I see it. That's how I see it. And I don't like arguing with people about my faith, because it's my faith. What's there to argue about? I mean, you don't like it? Okay, I'm not asking you to. That's the end of the discussion for me.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately we're talking about, like, you know, how we're organizing, right? And it would be such a huge mistake to miss a huge pool of the masses of people that need to be organized, right? And need to organize themselves, right? It's not just them being little sheep, right? But like raising the consciousness so they are able to be empowered to then, like, oh yeah, we need to do this shit. We need to organize for our safety and security and community control.
So yeah, y'all. So who's taking Tylenol?
Listen, we talked about that yesterday, and I was like, if they don't stop they horse, like, listen. So Kim said to me, tell me about, as a person who has birthed another person, tell me, did you use Tylenol? I said, yes, hell to the yes. And she said, why? And I said, because birthing a person fucking hurts. The whole process.
I can't even imagine.
The whole
no, thank
from
you.
day one until they come out, and then they just walk around bringing you pain because you just spend all day worrying about their asses, right? And so, like, not for nothing, it's like serious. And I love my child, but he sat on my sciatic for almost my entire third trimester. So, like, exactly right, that face, exactly. And it was August, and it was hot as hell outside. Listen, we had all kinds of stress, but in the end, right, the thing I think that a lot of people are missing is that active ingredient is in more than Tylenol.
What's the active ingredient? Because I have not read the things. I'm just like, oh, this is where we are. Close my laptop.
Right. Right. But it's in cold medicine.
It's in everything.
It's in cough medicine. It's in, because it's a fever reducer. So anything that you take that reduces fevers has acetaminophen, like, literally. So this whole focusing on Tylenol to me tells me there's something else happening. There's another drama there, and I just don't have the energy for it.
I'm sorry. If acetaminophen is the reason, acetaminophen.
Yeah.
That was discovered, by the way, it was created after the first diagnoses
of autism. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
yes. Yes, you're blaming something that didn't even exist.
Maybe acetaminophen is how the 300 million Americans were killed by drugs that Trump said that, but maybe it was the acetaminophen that was being smuggled from Venezuela. No, that's
right. So 90%, almost 90% of the coke trade from my country, Peru, Colombia, and Ecuador, it comes from the Pacific. It doesn't go, only 5% of the world's drug trade goes through Venezuela. It's a minimal percentage. And then it gets like 90% of what does go through Venezuela gets stopped by the, authorities in Venezuela. So nothing actually goes through, right? But what are they saying about Venezuela now? Narco traffickers. The same thing they said about Chavez, right? The same thing they'll say about every other, oh, you're slightly too leftist. What? You want control of your resources for your people? Oh, no.
Yeah. I just another level of the absolute hypocritical absurdity in this country. Like you're gonna heavily regulate acetaminophen because you claim it causes autism. No scientific evidence, no scientific nothing done. Just the psycho sunburnt white raisin chemically addled RFK Jr. saying so.
If that man isn't on the white powder also, Jesus Christ, that whole administration.
But then, as Erica is pointing out in the chat, and this is also why I love being an organization, by the way, because when you're an organization, did you know one of the great byproducts of being an organization is you get to commune with people who have issues in life that you don't know anything about, that you get insight into that helps sharpen your analysis. Case in point, my friend, my comrade, has a child who is amazing, but who requires particular educational resources. And instead of this system providing educational resources for her child and children who need those things, they have to fight the public education system that they pay for in order to provide their children the basic necessities that they need to have a quality educational experience so that they can actually develop intellectually. They have to fight for these things. They have to fight for quality education for their children in a system in which their taxes pay for the education for their children. And these motherfuckers are criminalizing acetaminophen because they want to criminalize autism. They want to do something horrible with autistic people. Because now that Tylenol is deemed sketchy, now they're going to introduce some drug that is supposed to cure autism. Watch. They're going to introduce some kind of fucked up cure for autism. Now your kids aren't going to be autistic anymore. And that thing is going to fuck some people up.
And isn't it just like capitalism to introduce the problem and then sell you the solution? Right? Crime.
That's it right there. Right. Because I think I read an article the other day about some potential treatment for autism that they're actually talking about right now.
Of course they are.
This is, we kind of say all the time, we can't look at these weird things that they're doing and look at them in isolation.
No,
as if they are
I'm
examples
still trying to
of
figure
their...
out. I'm still trying to figure out what is the thing that they're trying to replace Tylenol with. That's going to be somebody's moneymaker. That they picked on Tylenol. Because to me, I listen. That active ingredient is in so many.
It's in everything.
Things.
Yeah.
Like how you pick Tylenol of all things, right? Yeah. And so there's something. But I've always said, part of the biggest problem with our healthcare system is that the money is in treatment. So they don't care about people being healthy. They don't care about people being cured. They don't care about people avoiding getting sick. They care about treating people for whatever illness they tack on top of them so that they can keep you on a perpetual cycle of doctor's appointments and medicines and this treatment and that treatment. Like, it's just never, it's always, you know what I'm saying? Like, it never ends. It never ends. So.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think a couple of people in the chat have said that they announced that there's a potential treatment or cure for autism. At the same time, they announced the regulation of Tylenol, and I think they picked on Tylenol because it was the easiest thing they could pick on, because everything else is tied to some type of recent regulation and testing. I mean, they couldn't criminalize or regulate anything else because everything else kind of is regulated.
Yeah. They won't say shit about oxycodone, even though it is regulated, but it's so like candy. Pharmacies like candy with them. I used to,
Still.
yeah, for shit, almost like 10 years. I worked in different pharmacies, mostly CVS, but like throughout, New York, New Jersey, whatever. My goodness, when I tell you that is what everyone is on. Everyone is on oxycodone.
Let me start messing with people real quick. Look. ZZ Lion, it's a replay.
It is not a replay. Stop that.
I'm just teasing. ZZ's my guy. I'm just teasing. I couldn't help.
I know.
I'm just teasing.
No, we are live, and thanks, folks, for hanging out. See, I told Ear Doctor we go as long as we want, and nobody would care.
They just listen. That day when we were on for the whole day,
people
just hung. It was great. I'm for it. I'm instituting it. We're going to try and do that every quarter, 4 times a year.
I think it'd be kind of cool. I mean, why not? Shoot,
a telethon.
A telethon. And now Cloud can be involved. We can tag more people in. There we go.
This whole thing is I mean I don't know what else to say other than y'all better get in somebody's organization. Y'all better get in somebody's anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist organization, because you don't want to be caught out here. Listen, and let me tell you something. It's not that they don't know that what we're out here doing. We are on their radar.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're on their radar, and we've always been on their radar.
It wasn't surprising to me that I got stopped at customs. I didn't need to hear what I heard from Majamu, but besides the point. But it wasn't a surprise to me, right? Like they opened my luggage, and it's like 500 BAP brochures, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this? Down with U.S. imperialism!" And then of course I had my like Marx. CBS, they were looking at CBS's book for a long time. I feel like that should be really proud of that. They were like, what the fuck is this?
Now it's in their head and they can't get it out.
Yeah. But I mean, like that. I wasn't surprised. They let me go, but
Yeah, I mean this whole thing. I'm not sure why people are still demanding that the Epstein files be released. They're never going to release those files, y'all. Biden could have released them. He didn't do it. and this man is not going to release them.
I mean, they might. It's not going to be in this lifespan. It might be 50 years from now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you for that correction. You're right. It's going to be 10, 15 years from now when everybody who's on the list is dead, because all of the world leaders are on that list. Practically all of them are on that list. That's why it's not going to be released. I don't know why.
Yeah.
What do you need to? Haven't you seen enough to know what wasn't the birthday postcard enough?
And
I feel still talking about release the list for.
I want to say
that you haven't done now, and you ain't done nothing.
Yeah, I want to say that what's their name? Anonymous released some files, but they're also sketchy, right? Like it's a decentralized, no one knows, right? But I don't know. I mean, whether we'll ever get that list or not, organized now. Do y'all see the war happening outside? It is outside. It's been outside. Some people haven't been looking, but you can't really evade it now,
Yeah. And I wanted to really quickly. Let me see. Is this from last night? Yes. I wanted to really quickly talk about the United Nations. Now, here's my disclaimer.
Mm.
The United Nations is an imperialist institution that, yeah, that's what I have to say about the United Nations. Okay, so last night, because I gotta say, if an institution that has the
Mhm.
capacity and the ability to declare and act a genocide waits for 2 years to do it, I don't know how much respect you want me to have for that institution, because I have none. Because you and I knew it was a genocide damn near 2 weeks into it. We were certain that it was a genocide 2 months into it. How come it took the UN 2 years to declare it a genocide? And they've got all the experts to.
Mhm.
Okay, anyway, so
Well,
Colombia,
Bernie said so, so now we can all say so.
right, and Bernie only called it a genocide after the UN declares it a genocide 2 years later. All his supporters are telling him, Bernie, it's a genocide.
Mhm.
Oh well, oh well, oh well,
Mhm.
Israel the right to defend its. Okay,
That's that's the state of the left in the US, right? The so-called left is
yeah. So last night was the opening of the General Assembly, I believe, for the United Nations. Somebody
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not exactly sure because I don't care, but but some important speeches did happen. And Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, called for a criminal investigation against Trump over Caribbean strikes. The Associated Press is saying that Petro called for a criminal investigation against U.S. President Donald Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think this is big enough. Oh, yes, it is. Okay.
Mhm.
And other officials involved in this month's deadly strikes on boats in the Caribbean that the White House has said were transporting drugs. Petro repudiated the 3 attacks in his speech at the annual meeting of the UN General Assembly, during which he accused Trump of criminalizing poverty and migration. Criminal proceedings must be opened against those officials who are from the U.S., even if it includes the highest ranking official who gave the order, President Trump, Petro said of the strikes, adding that boat passengers were not members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, as claimed by the Trump administration after the first attack. If the boats were carrying any drugs, as alleged by the U.S. government, Petro said their passengers were not drug traffickers. They were simply poor young people from Latin America who had no other option. I would have never said that shit. My thing would have been, arrest President Trump and his administration for assassinating civilians in another country without any due process. Full demand in stop.
Mhm.
Please stop validating the lies these people are telling about the things they're doing. We don't ever, whenever somebody says, oh, the US needs to be held responsible, they always feel like they need to validate whatever concern that the US used to do the evil thing they did. So I don't want to talk about whether the people in those boats carry drugs. I don't care.
This is the 4th attack.
Yes, there have been 4 now. I don't care if it was a person packaged in a gigantic package of cocaine driving the boat. I don't care. It was not the US's responsibility, place, business to do anything in those waters involving those people, let alone bomb and kill them.
Mhm.
That is the demand. The United States violated international law, killed Venezuelan people, denied them due process, committed an act of war, and
Mhm.
they should be held accountable.
Mhm.
There needs to be no discussion about whatever they said they did it for. There is no reason,
Mhm.
there is nothing that validates them ever doing this.
Yeah. And let's be so real, so for real about again, right, who the biggest narco traffickers are. It's not Venezuela. Over 90% of the international cocaine trade goes through the Pacific Ocean, through Peru, Ecuador, and the U.S. bases in Colombia. The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, is the biggest narco trafficker in the world, right? The DEA, what happened when Evo kicked out the DEA from Bolivia? It went all the way down in the list of countries that produce cocaine. The DEA is in Peru, the DEA is in Colombia, and those are the top 2 cocaine producing countries. Shockingly enough, where are the ports, right? And what just happened the other day? Russia intercepted a cargo ship from Noboa's banana company with tons of cocaine. That's who the narco
That's the
president
wild
is.
stuff. And listen, not for
bananas?
nothing, this is legit. The Fort Bragg cartel book.
That.
Listen.
Yes.
Listen.
That joint is wild.
How is the military completely invested in trafficking guns, drugs, and people? Like, how does that happen? How does that happen? But you want to drop bombs on people fishing.
Listen.
Like, what are we doing right now?
And claiming that they're narco terror.
Right.
Like, let's be so for real, please.
But okay. And this is the only time I would validate such a ridiculous argument. And that is to poke holes at it and to make fun of it. Let's say that okay, maybe Nicolas Maduro is Big Papa narco trafficker. Why would he traffic drugs through fishing boats? These little tiny tiny fishing boats with like 6 people. Not even why? How? And not only using fishing boats, but deploying them as foreign military is just on the periphery of their international waters where they will be seen. That makes no sense. No self-respecting narco trafficker. You don't get to be a narco trafficker by doing stupid shit like that. So I just
just ask the DEA.
Well, I mean, there is no need to ever legitimize the lies these people tell about the reasons they do, because all it does is continue to perpetuate this lie that there is something wrong with Venezuela, that we always need to have antagonism toward Venezuela and Cuba and all of these things, and people will continue to support the imperialist oppressive policies against these countries. So the situation becomes less about the U.S. murdering foreign citizens on their soil, minding their business in violation of everything. Then the conversation continues to be, well, if narco trafficking out of Venezuela is a problem, we probably should at least have policies that. Do you see how that works? It is all done. Trump is doing the same thing Democrats have done. Trump is just using bombs to do it. But it's the same policy for the same reason.
Yeah. I mean, I always talk about Peru because obviously that's like what I study the most. But, one of the first things that Castillo did, well, his foreign minister, was normalize relations with Venezuela and kill the Lima group, right? What did they do? They couped Castillo, right? Cut relations off Venezuela. And now because the Lima group, which was supposed to essentially enact regime change through lawfare, because that didn't work out for the past 12 years, now they're going to straight war. Right? So what they couldn't achieve through lawfare, it's just going to be straight up war now. Right. What the Democrats couldn't achieve through like niceness, right, now is just, the like mask is off. But they're playing for the same team.
And war is the biggest moneymaker of all things.
Exactly.
It is the biggest moneymaker of all things. But I think, Cloud, you have to prep for a meeting.
I do.
Jackie, we held you hostage way longer than you had intended to stay.
Well, that's okay, because I know you all. and I have to be very careful about this one because I'm not. This also happened last night at the UN.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think we need to talk about this, but I just want to preface that it's going to be an interesting conversation. But I think we should talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we do need to talk about it because contradictions abound. And but let's think about it and talk about it tomorrow because
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be on the road, but I'll try to chat my way through it.
I know you might have to send out a bat signal, Jackie, because you're gonna be on here with Camus.
Yeah, and then we're having Netfa on with our guest.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so good. So you got it covered. You got it covered.
Tell
Okay.
Netfa I still interviewed Paca in the chat. Evan gave an incredible interview in the chat. Okay.
I'm telling you, we're gonna do a little animation. I'm about to download the transcript and I'm gonna figure something out. We'll do like the two faces and the words. You go, look.
Do like little sticks, like little stick figures. Actually, I love that. Please do.
All right, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jackie, for jumping in. Cloud, thanks for holding it down until I came to push a button.
Thank you.
It took a long time for the button pushing to work, but I appreciate y'all.
Yep. We'll
like, share, subscribe, people.
Regular time tomorrow, 8 a.m. We hope.
Good.
We hope.
Okay, let's find out.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.
Oh, sorry, there I go doing stuff. Play outro and
remix. 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 Remix.